You know, when I have one intention, when I come to the show with one intention, and my emotions are one way, I start the broadcast, then I start see all the hearts floating, coming up, coming up, coming up. You soften me. All this heart is getting me soft. This is not a time I need to be sentimental. Yes, you can keep the hearts coming, but just understand that it affects me. It does. I like it. You make me weak. But you can keep sending it. Also the likes. And in the comment section. I'm taking some coffee. To set the stage. The search continues. And as you have seen in my description, my title calls for the Minister of Public Works, EDGHILL, to resign. Just so you understand, and I keep repeating, I have to keep repeating as oft as possible. People first. People first. People first. Politicians are elected into office because people first. Without people, there is no government, no bureaucracy. Politicians wouldn't have significance if people didn't come first. I am adaptable. I adjust. I adapt. Contrary to what some of you think or your perception of me, my mind is flexible. As new information becomes available, I recant, re-examine my position yesterday, and adapt to the circumstances today. I don't bring the burden or the misconceptions or the propaganda or the whatever from yesterday into today. I don't do that. Based on my position today, from all what I have been privy to, not social media, my credible, trusted sources that I trust, I am saying EDGHILL and Minister Indar, the Public Utilities Minister and the Minister of Public Works, need to resign immediately. That is what I am saying. EDGHILL and Indar need to resign immediately. Welcome to the Uncensored Guyana Show. I am Dr. L. Prasad. As many of you would know, you have followed me for years. Before the elections 2025, after the elections 2025, I said, and I'm the only one who have made that position, who have taken that position, made the call, and I'm repeating that call. The Prime Minister of Guyana is a waste of time, dead weight. The Prime Minister, Mark Phillips, is dead weight. A waste of time. Dismantled, liquidate, get rid of the office of the Prime Minister. It's a waste of fucking time. Close it down. If you require the Parliament to do that, you have the majority. Do it. Waste of resources, waste of public spending, and the man who occupies the office of the Prime Minister is a handicap. I don't care what Ali said about credentials of Mark Phillips. I don't give a darn. That's Ali's opinion. Ali has that opinion. I don't have to side with whatever Ali says. I am saying the Prime Minister is a waste of space, dead weight. And we continue to see how incompetent the man is. We continue to see how incompetent he is. What an embarrassment. I didn't want to deal with it yesterday. I wanted to deal with what I wanted to deal with yesterday. But I had this on my agenda, and I've said this many times. Many times. An event as tragic as the sinking of the MV Barima, the last person you want to communicate to the public is Mark Phillips. The last person. Kwame McCoy does a better job. You must understand, the whole world got information about the event in Guyana via the public domain, the mainstream public Guyana news agency. And there would have been access to a so-called press conference table headed by Mark Phillips, officiated by Juan EDGHILL. They are representing the rest of us to the world in our communication skills. Mark Phillips is dead weight. If it was a retired general you were looking for, Ali, Granger was a retired general. You have many other persons who are retired generals from the Guyana Defense Force who could have filled that position if that's what you were looking for, President Ali. A military man. There are many more eloquent, learned, resourceful, informative, ahead of the game. Vice President, Prime Minister Mark Phillips did a lousy job, terrible. It was an embarrassment to watch the man, listen to the man, mumble like a 10-year-old trying to read a dictionary. An embarrassment. Liquidate. If you can't do it now, legislate. So the next time you have an election, you don't need the office of a prime minister if you have a vice president. You want to go with the rest of the world, you want to have a vice president? Fine, you took it from Granger, whatever. But you don't need two acting presidents. One politics and one constitutional. Nobody gives a shit about the constitution these days. It's only politics. So fine, if it's only politics, you don't need the prime minister's office. Let us stick with the vice president, who, in my opinion, should have put the Tushao conference on hold, cancel it, because every year you have the conference. You could reschedule. It's important. The Tushaos, the conference could have been fucking scheduled next month. This is priority. Everything, every national event, cancel it. This is priority. So Vice President Jagdeo, you should have called it off and take the place of Mark Phillips. You deal with the public. You are more informed. You can articulate better. You can disseminate information better. You can organize better. You are the politician, not Mark Phillips. In these situations, you need politicians. Secondly, President Irfan Ali, you are the president of the country. No need for me to say that. It is commendable that you cut short your official trip to Canada. I'm sure whatever you were about to do there would have benefited the country economically. So you could have canceled your trip after being in Canada, but they couldn't cancel the Tushao conference. They could not cancel the Tushao conference, but you have to host everybody, put them up in hotels because they came for the conference. Fuck that. What if it was an earthquake or a hurricane? You still have to cancel it. So President Irfan Ali, I wanted to say this yesterday, but like I said, everything that I procrastinated from dealing with yesterday, I'm going to deal with it today. Today. My issue with the president is that there were many events, many, that occurred in Guyana, including the Adriana situation, if my memory serves me right, including that, where you, Mr. President, was abroad. You were somewhere, but you chose to address the nation via your telephone, Facebook Live. You send messages via video on many other instances of national interest in the past. I found it politically incorrect that you didn't seize the opportunity, even if you were on the plane bound for Canada. You would have had internet access. You're the president. That you didn't, upon learning of this this disaster, this tragedy, you didn't immediately take your phone, go on your page, and do a live. Immediately. I'm appalled by that. I wouldn't ask why you didn't. I'm least interested in the reason why you did not. My thing is, it was irresponsible not to. The opportunity is lost. Nothing and no one should have prevented you, Mr. President, they hadn't done it in the past, from dropping whatever you were doing at the time you received the news about this devastating tragedy. From taking your phone, say, hold everybody, hold on everybody, logging on to your Facebook page, switching the camera on, and talking to the nation immediately. Because all the information would have been there, you were briefed. But to issue statements, written statements via Facebook, and have the Prime Minister speak on your behalf, and somebody else quote the president, and so, is fucking bullshit. It's bull. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Never happened before. It's up to you to speak for yourself. You are the president. Nobody voted for EDGHILL. Nobody voted for Mark Phillips. Not even Jagdeo, people didn't vote for. They vote for Irfan Ali. Irfan Ali, they voted for. While the PPP had diminished seats in previous elections and barely won in 2020, the Guyanese people saw the capabilities of you, Irfan Ali. They saw your ability and they rallied behind you, Irfan Ali. Not the PPP, you they rallied behind. Because if it was up to the PPP, you would have been fucked just like the PNC was fucked. But it was you, Irfan Ali, Guyanese rallied behind. It was you. Nobody gives a shit about your cabinet or whoever comes and say what. Nobody wants to hear anything from them. They want to hear from you. You are the person they are looking forward to solve their problems. When things go good in the country, it's you that gets the praise. When things are screwed up, it's you that gets the blame. So so for that reason, you have to make sure in these situations, every time, no matter where you are, you face the camera. We've done it in the past. People were satisfied. Something as big, as massive, as deadly as this crisis, once, as a matter of fact, by sea, not even the bombing of the steamer during the Burnham time, Wisma Linden there, when they bombed the steamer, not even that had the amount of casualties. That was 80 something, what, 50 something, or 80 anyway. Like this modern day tragedy that happens last Friday. It is the first and the worst by sea in Guyana's independent history. Anything to match that would be when they transited slaves from Africa and the boats sunk, whatever. Nothing of this nature happened like that ever. So this is why you should have grasped the opportunity to tell Guyanese, hey, I got you, I got you. I don't want to send people to speak on my behalf. You elected me, I'm going to be there for you. It is not a convenient thing for me to take my time and deal with the first. No, fuck it. If the plane touched down in Canada Saturday morning, and this happened Friday, you had to be back in Guyana Sunday morning. I ain't changed. I am still an Ali loyalist. I am still a loyalist to President Irfan Ali. Nothing has changed. I'm just human. And I'm giving Jack his jacket. For me to spend the whole show blaming the PNC and what they did, this is why they were voted out of office. This is why they lost 16 seats to a loser. This is why. Even the racist blacks didn't want anything to do with the PNC. They chose a criminal instead. So makes no sense deliberating on the PNC's failure. Their failure culminated with their failure at the elections, at the polls. We know they were corrupt. We know they damaged the country. We know they dismantled public infrastructure. We know. This is why we vote them out. And this is why they will never again be trusted. We know, we get it. Don't let me waste my fucking time on PNC and what they didn't do. We know what they didn't do. They fucked up. So they're out. Bye-bye. Good. Irfan Ali took the reign. You took over the woman. She should not feel the effects of her ex. You are supposed to make her forget the pains she suffered under the ex. What has happened is the first 5 years to hypnotize Guyanese, and then the second 5 years to relax. It is enough to be accused of financial corruption, land corruption, friends and family. It's enough to have to face all of that. Politicians will always face all of that because politicians must give back to those who sponsored them. That is the game. Elections aren't won because politicians wave their hands and everything happened. Elections are won as against who spend the most. Who spend the most during the campaign trail would be guaranteed a victory. Muhammad won the PNC. Why? Because he spent the most. So you have to reward those who sponsor you. So you understand why politicians who become ministers are accused of channeling contracts and channeling this and channeling that to their friends and favorites, because they have to reward those who sponsor them. It's understood. You get the job done, we understand. But the same way I am passionate about the safety of Guyanese from criminals, from thieves, from gangbangers, the same way I am passionate about law and order. I am passionate about the lives of Guyanese, no matter who they are. And that I speak of the citizens, law-abiding citizens, who may just take a risk or a chance because they want to get by every day. But when I have to see images of children who didn't ask to go on that boat, but who trusted the adults in whose care they were, parents, relatives, whoever it is, who would have traversed their roots with the old folks in their group. When I see those children who would have done no wrong, maybe a tiny white lie, steal mommy's $50 or steal cake or whatever it is, that may have been their only crime. And to see them lying there, dead, no chance to experience the beauties Guyana has to offer. When I see that, and not one, not two, the possibilities of over 100 Guyanese lives lost due to fucking negligence from people of whom Indar and EDGHILL sits at the top. Don't fire the local staff. They're a bunch of imbeciles and hustlers. Every ministry, every department, you have those who hustle and take bribe. It is the implementation. It is the policies, the people who oversee these departments, who ignored the red flags, who didn't trust the science. They must be held accountable. Why do you think they have laws in wearing a seatbelt? Yes, it's your life. You're the one driving the car, not the cop. So if you can't be responsible for your own life, why should a cop bother with you or giving you a ticket to wear a seatbelt to protect yourself? The cop could say, well, it's your life. You want to drive crazy and make an accident, you're going to die. So I'm not going to pressure you to wear a seatbelt for your own good. Fuck it, go your way. And then you have an accident, and it is determined that the person's life could have been saved if they had the seatbelt on. What society does? Blame the person who didn't wear the seatbelt, or blame the traffic cop who ignored them not having a seatbelt? And then when they blame the traffic cop, then they say, well, the cop was bribed. It doesn't stop with the cop. It goes to his commander, then up to the commissioner. And more often than not, it is always a constant call to replace the commissioner because the local cops, the junior cops, are corrupt. It reflects on the commissioner because they are supposed to put proper systems in place, individuals in place to make sure that the local cops, the junior cops, do their jobs. The Ministry of the Department of Transport and Harbor in Guyana is a mess and has been a mess forever. It was a mess in Jagneo time, in Ramatar time, and it got worse on the Granger. And Ali inherited a shithole of public transportation or Department of Public Transport. He inherited the shithole. You put two persons to clean it up. To clean it up. Two. Indar and Kwan EDGHILL. And what do you get? Start from GPL. You still get shit. That's on the Indar too. Transportation, what do you get? This. A boat that should have been decommissioned years ago, still operating. And then the minister who's directly under that, who that falls directly under, coming on a press conference, full of fucking arrogance. Full of arrogance. Instead of own it. Nobody will beat you. You weren't the captain of the ship, like I said yesterday. You weren't the manager or executive at the department, but own it. You knew from day one. You were there. You one of the persons who criticized the PNC. EDGHILL, you are one of the persons who publicly criticized Granger and this man, this asshole, what's his name again? The one who was a minister of Public Works on the Granger. Patterson. Kwan EDGHILL. You criticized Patterson when they embezzled 128 million Guyana dollars to refurbish the same boat. The same boat. You were one of the persons. The boat is a problem child, not today. In Ramatar time, in Granger's time, the MV Barima was a problem child. PNC publicly declared that they had a whole big ceremony, 128 million Guyana dollars to put some fucking paint and patch a few welding, change a few stuff, change a few pistons in the engine, and say this is 128 million. The boat is okay. You knew that, EDGHILL. You know it was they cheated the system. You know it didn't cost that much. You know the boat had to be cancelled and docked forever. You know that since 2017, even before that. You came on board, and what you were complaining about, the passion you had or you expressed during the campaign 2020, 2019, Ali was convinced this is the man for the job. He cares about people. He's passionate about all these things. Let me put him. And all we got from you, EDGHILL, is promises in 2023. 2 boats secured from India. 1 specifically to replace MV Barima. 2023, Kwan EDGHILL, you said a boat is on its way to replace the boat that sunk. You said it. That's 2023. For heaven's sake, we are in 2020 fucking 6. 3 years after. The fact that you would have put it on your mandate to discuss it in the parliament, to put it in the budget of the ministry, it is because it was an emergency. It was time that the boat was replaced. Then more politicking 2025 about the same boat. And 2026, you come in a press conference saying the boat was seaworthy when you yourself said the boat was fucking messed up in 2023, and you cost the PNC in Granger government that the boat was bad. Now in 2026, 10 years after, you're defending a boat that you condemned. For whatever reason, the structure of the government doesn't have the power to fire ministers, that the government structure is compromised, so ministers can do whatever they want and then just press conference their mistakes away. That's not a government we could trust. Nobody's indispensable. The only person who's indispensable is the president. Is the president. Minister Kwan EDGHILL is too arrogant for that post. Ill-informed. People who hold certain ministry should have at least have a career background in that field. At least. You have the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony. Is he a medical doctor? Could be a doctor in some other field. Is he a medical doctor? Was he a practicing doctor? Medical practitioner? Was he? No. How many of the ministers who are ministers right now in their respective field? Sonia Parag, was she ever a school teacher or in any way worked in the ministry? A lecturer, whatever it is, was she? No. I am making an example here how we keep putting square pegs in round holes. So with their incompetence to process what their ministries are undergoing, they can't advise the president. They can't give the president quality advice because they themselves don't know shit. The president must finalize on projects and policies based on recommendations from the people he trusts. I said yesterday, all the boats that they would have secured, it's based on what they tell the president it is priority. So they targeted what is recommended to be priority. And a boat like the MV Burima that has to traverse some of the roughest waters, the deepest part of the ocean, such a lengthy journey. It's a tiny ship, a steamer, to compete with those massive waves. Kwan EDGHILL, the buck stops with you. Kwan EDGHILL, the buck stops with you. You should drop the act, keep the theatrics for your church. This is people's lives we're dealing with here. People are dead. Children are dead because of your fucking incompetence. You had a responsibility since you took office. Since you took office, 2020, you had a responsibility to personally learn the system, go in, investigate, and fire the whole department if it needs be. Fire the whole department if it needs be. Don't you think Guyanese would have understood if you say, we have no boats right now, we're going to use alternative boats, but this boat has to be docked. Since 2020. How long did the lockdown last? The COVID lockdown, how long did it last? Almost 2 years. People protest on social media. They complained. They were angry, but they complied with the rules of the lockdown. They complied. They didn't travel. They didn't hold parties. They stayed home. Because it was in their interest, their health, their future, their lives, that you, the government, told the citizens, it is for your interest, you need to stay home. Now tell me what was preventing the docking of the boat since 2020. What was preventing that? Because the PNC lied about fixing it, which cost $128 million to fix. That's why you say, well, you got to get the money back. Members of the PPP criticized that deal, condemned it, said it was a scam, robbing the taxpayers. I don't have to go over all the talking points and the rhetoric that came from the now government, who was in opposition, about the MV Barima under the PNC, who said they refurbished it. They told Guyanese don't trust it. They told Guyanese don't go on the boat. They told Guyanese the boat is not seaworthy. PPP people said that in 2020. How come the same boat you're pushing on Guyanese now, that you condemned? You condemned it. How come? Minister Indar, Minister Kwan Edghill, do Irfan Ali a favor and just resign. Hand in your resignation. You will be respected by the Guyanese people for that. Don't be a bully. You're only making your president look bad if you stay. The pressure will continue. President Ali will lose the trust of the Guyanese people, because the Guyanese people will say he's incapable of correcting and disciplining his incompetent ministers. Do your president a favor and resign. For whatever reason, he may not ask you to do it. The public wants you to resign. They could do without the two of you. Edghill and Indar, Guyanese can do without the two of you. Local government elections are coming up. That won't be postponed. It's coming up. These are the things that the opposition will use to remind Guyanese of the incompetence of some of the government ministers, which is reflecting bad on the president. So incompetent that when that lunatic starts to spread the whole breaking news on the president's farm, none of you came to the president's defense. None of you, except Mustafa. You left him in the mess by himself. That's how incompetent a lot of you are. It ain't your business. Now in a situation where Guyanese lives, voters' lives were lost because of the incompetence of a transportation department that should not have existed. You could not tell the president the day when you tell him about the incident to say, Mr. President, you know what, you should make a live video. You should come on live and respond to the people. You couldn't tell the man to do that. You're telling me he would have been so disconcerted to say, let them wait until I come back? I don't think so. I don't think so. So who was that stupid enough to tell the president not to do a live or to come on video to tell the Guyanese or to offer whatever it is before he has to issue statements? And also about the Tushao conference, to tell the vice president, cancel it. It ain't important. This is a case where every ethnic group in Guyana suffered casualties, not just Amerindians, blacks, Indo-Guyanese, mixed, suffered casualties. And what we're getting now is just performance, statements, promises, words. Politicians are the best actors. They're so theatrical. Best actors that from no side, not the opposition side, not the ruling party side, no side you can trust their performances. They would say, put on the facial expression, lower their tone to suit whatever narrative needs to be pushed. And after a month, it's forgotten. It's forgotten. It's back to business as usual until another disaster happens. This has to be the breaking point. All that is responsible need to be dealt with accordingly, not just the captain and crew and transport department. Everybody from the minister right down the chain should resign. Everybody. And they should volunteer their resignation. We always like to talk about other countries, right? We talk about other countries. Do you see how the politicians in other countries operate? Look how many British prime ministers resigned over the past 5 years. Look how many. Look how many. And they resign just because their economies are fucked up. They resign. After 6 months, 1 year, they resigned in the interest of their voters. Senators, cabinet ministers under Donald Trump resigned for the simplest malpractice in their offices. Simplest. They resign. I repeat, ministers of the Donald Trump cabinet, almost 3 or 4, have resigned because of simple incompetence. Didn't involve national tragedy like this. Simple. The public demanded that they resign, and they resigned. Who is Kwan Edghill? Who is Indar? That they can't resign. What do they have on the president? This is the death of Guyanese. The death of Guyanese. Just like the cops writing you a ticket when you don't wear your seatbelt, because human beings are by nature stupid. So you have to have a system that passes law and forces human beings to behave a certain way for their own good. In the same way, while a lot of people may have contributed to a sinking ship by not following the rules, the buck stops with whoever signed off on the sinking ship being seaworthy. It stops with them. Because all those persons who would have squatted, who would have stowed away, who would have bribed the porters or whoever takes the tickets, whatever it is, they would have done that based on their own personal belief and trust that the boat is okay because the government says it's okay. But if all of them people who jumped ship, if all them people had any insight that a tragedy can happen for the MV Barima, or if it had previously attempted to sink, nobody would have gotten on that ship. Not for free. Because they learned that this thing is prone to sink. This is a disaster waiting to happen. They would not have gone on the ship. They trusted the state under Minister Indar and EDGHILL. They trusted these two people who overlooked the sector. They trusted whoever gave them the report that, hey, this can run for another year. They trusted that. So don't blame your engineers. Don't blame the managers at the Transport and Harbours Department. Don't blame them. Take the blame on yourself and say, look, you know what? In the interest of public fairness, in the interest of being a patriotic Guyanese, I resign as Minister of Public Works. As Minister of Public Utilities, I resign. Not to take up another ministry, not to become an advisor to anybody, but to go back to your lives, what you were doing before you become a politician. Because nobody will believe you again. Bishop should go back to being a bishop. Don't mix God and politics. Stick to the God stuff. Whatever Indar was doing before, go back to that. Leave room for competent people. If President Irfan Ali can't find anybody locally, hire people. But stop appointing politicians to ministries just because they're party loyalists. Just because they're party loyalists, you give them a position as a minister, and they're fucking dunderheads, both sides, PNC and PPP. A bunch of skunks. Look what happened. This could have happened on the Granger. Sadly, nature got violent. We had a recent earthquake. The ground is still settling. There are still tremors. The ocean will respond to what's happening in the hemisphere. And as you would know, as was told, as was said, there are violent waves in that region, violent waves. And violent waves require what? Bigger ships. It's not a fishing trawler. Maybe you should have gotten one of the fishing boat trawlers, the man who discovered the location of the ship, of the boat. Maybe he should have been the captain of the NV Barima. Maybe he should have captained the boat. He seemed to be more of a common sense man. He knows exactly where the damage is, where not to drive, where not to sail the boat. These people are people who would have traversed the seas every day. They know where, hey, avoid that area. Avoid there, stick to the corner. It's better you go on it's better you go on a sandbank and you're stuck there. It's better you're stuck on a sandbank than to go in the deep with a boat that cannot handle the swirls, the violent waves and the current. It has happened, unfortunately. And as a consequence to what has happened, and Guyanese lives were lost, the minister should resign. The minister should quit. Don't send him to jail. Just let him resign. And the others who knowingly collected bribes, knowingly signed off on a boat that was not seaworthy and deceived the system that it was seaworthy, they should go to jail. They should go to jail for that. But the minister and his advisors should be fired. And I'm asking President Irfan Ali, to fire them. Show the country that you are tough. Show the country that you are a man who put people first, not your ministers. You can replace them. There are lots of people who can occupy that position. And when it comes to doing damage control, when it comes to promoting the government or selling the government's programs and policies, President Ali, you are the genius when it comes to doing that. Jagdeo is the genius when it comes to doing that. Find people like yourself to do PR, damage control for the government. I repeat, Mark Phillips did a terrible job, as he always does. Another Sam Hines. So whoever becomes president in the next 2030 should get rid of the office of the prime minister. Change the constitution. You have a president, you have a vice president. You can't have a president, a vice president, and a prime minister. So the vice president never has the chance to being acting president, because if the president is out, according to Guyana's constitution, it's the prime minister. So what's the vice president? A political rubber stamp? Just a position created because there's nothing else for the man to do? Who implemented that? Granger. Granger started with that nonsense. So how come the PPP took the same system Granger had? Granger had how many vice presidents? First, second, how many? Get rid of it. It's either we have a vice president and a president, or a president and a prime minister. You don't need all three. But my recommendation is to close down the office of the prime minister and use that building for the office of the vice president. But when you're appointing people to take over from the president, you need to have somebody who's competent. Someone who's competent. I think Jagdeo and Ali makes a good team. I don't see where Mark Phillips fit in. I really don't. So in light of this disaster, more bodies are still being discovered. Discovering the location of the ship, of the steamer, is good. But that can remain at the bottom of the sea for all I care. I am concerned with the lives that were lost because of the negligence of allowing that boat to still be in service. That boat should have been in a museum, or if you had nowhere to put it, drive it somewhere on a sandbank and leave it there. That should have been the fate of that boat years ago. Because of corrupt, greedy politicians who always look for an opportunity to make an extra buck from taxpayers, they keep the boat and keep budgeting money to refurbish, and by budgeting the money, that's how they steal it. Let the PNC justify 128 million to refurbish that boat. Let them justify what they did, what works was done. All of them should be jailed too, from Patterson and all the people who, they also should be jailed. Launch an investigation into that. Let them show the invoices, what work was done. But you need balls for that, right? You need Donald Trump for that. Because Ali won't do it. You better believe I would have done it. Oh, you better believe that. I am president and a minister, because of his incompetence and stupidity, caused the deaths of my citizens, possibly over 100 deaths of my citizens. And I'm going to come and try to politic this away, explain this away, lie this away. No, no. Immediately, I'm going to say, hey, because I know the facts, if I'm in Canada, I'll come on my live and I would say on camera, on my live in Canada as president, first of all, I want to say to my Minister of Public Works and my Minister of Public Utility, I expect your resignation upon my return. That is the first statement. I expect your resignation upon my return. Secondly, I would like the Guyana Police Force to conduct an investigation immediately into the operations, do the auditing of the books of the Transport Department as it relates to this particular boat, and do a wider probe on all of the stellings. Then I'll apologize to the Guyanese for the loss of lives, for the fact that I trusted my ministers, and this is how they made me look. And I would compensate them. Everybody who were on the manifest, everyone who lost their lives, who would have trusted the boat, trusted the system, that his boat was safe, that their children's lives would be safe, and they bought a ticket. They didn't hitch a ride. They bought a ticket. They joined the boat because they trusted the news that the boat is okay. I, as president, would have compensated them, gave all of them a house, every one of them a house. The survivors, that is. The ones who legally boarded the boat. Because your safety was guaranteed by insurance that if you go with a boat, it's the boat's responsibility to take you safely to your destination, so you're covered. Anything happened, is the management of the boat, and the management of the boat is what? The government. So it's the government's responsibility. Just like an airline, just like a train service, just like any profession, where you take people's safety in your hands, it is for you to guarantee that they go and come and still alive. I don't want to get into nitty-gritties and semantics today. I wanted to hit the nail on the head and say, listen, the buck stops with the minister. Resign. All of these assholes who are calling for transparency and all that kind of stuff, it's not necessary. Minister Mustafa has nothing to do with this. The people from VPAC are hustlers. All of them are hustlers. The PNC, the APNU, would never again get a chance in government. Guyanese know that this is not Ali's fault. Guyanese know where the blame lay, where to lay the blame. So I am echoing the sentiments of my fellow Guyanese and saying, fire the minister. And when you have ministers that are fucking up, fire them. We need public trust to remain with the PPP and with Ali, because 2030 is coming. Local government elections are coming. Don't sweep this under the rug. Don't sacrifice the future of the government, the future of the PPP, because you want to cover up for ministers. Sacrifice the ministers, let them go, fire them. Guyanese would appreciate that. We have suffered enough. We have suffered enough. Don't let it end in debt. Let Guyanese live to see what else the country has to offer. Guarantee their safety. Put competent people to run these ministries. But since we can't anticipate disaster, we can be prepared for it. Envy Barima is not a natural disaster. It's a man-made disaster. And the men who made it, they should be fired and jailed. We pain, we agonize with all those, especially those babies, especially those babies. How the fuck can you see those infants, EDGHILL, in there? How can you see those infants and still hold on to a ministry that nobody wants your asses to be there? Just quit, man. Stop coming on camera and lying and try to twist this away. Do the right thing and just quit. Ali would replace you. The country will thank you for your disastrous service. But don't politic this. Don't propagandize this. This is not a personal attack. A personal attack. I had intentions to say this yesterday, but I thought I'll deal with some other issues. Today, this is my intention to talk about this today. Nothing else. Anyway, share this live, spread this message. And before I have to say more, say things that are going to interfere with my temperature, let me pause for now. I'll continue on the next slide. But for now, this is my position going forward. Going forward, this is my position. Guyanese first. Incompetence would not be tolerated. Not by me. I said yesterday what I have to say yesterday. I'm saying today what I'm saying to fucking day. And I stand by it. I thank you for your attention. Goodbye.